If you'll come with me, you'll float too. You'll float too. You'll float too. You'll float too. You'll float too.
You're listening to BleedTV, the only podcast today's best shows and movies. I'm Zach.
I'm Jake.
And I'm Cash.
And tonight we decided to do a little special pod on the movie It.
We decided to earn the movie in the intro.
Yeah, no, we hadn't done a movie in a while.
Yeah, it's been a minute, but good one to
yeah.
try to bring in. I mean, it's breaking all the records at the box office right now and kind of saving a horrific year of movies.
Yeah. This was pretty much the only movie worth watching this year, I think, so far.
Go ahead. Name another movie I went to the theater and saw and we're just blown away by this year.
You mean you actually went to the movies the rest of the summer?
That's what I'm saying. I mean, something.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Yeah, no, can't tell you I got much of anything.
I know I've been to the movies this year,
But
I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't
anything.
even remember what I've watched.
Well, I take that back. Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Oh, Spider-Man.
Spider-Man
I
Homecoming
did see
was
both
good.
of those. I'll give you that.
Okay, I'll give those.
It goes to show you that they must not have been.
Hey, comic books. There we go. Something that's going to drive us to go see it anyway.
Yeah, so obviously that's what it requires something like that to get me to go to the theater now. Mm-hmm. I don't go for dramas. I don't even go for comedies anymore.
No, because I know we're going to be able to watch it on HBO in like 3 months, and so why go spend $12 at the movie theater?
True
that. So the details. The director was all right. I always say
we had a contest before we started potting, and Jake won.
Muschietti, I think it's Muschietti.
Okay, we're
Andy.
Going.
Yeah.
Andy M.
Andy M.
Done. Yeah, and of course, of all the actors, the two that stick out the most to me, of course, the guy who played It, which was Bill Skarsgård. Skarsgård, domination
the family,
of fame,
basically the Matthews of the acting world right now.
Right. And then, of course, the Finn kid,
Finn
Wolfhard, is
he's a star. That kid is a star in the making.
But Stuttering Bill is also a child actor. He was in Midnight Special.
I know he's Jaden something.
Yeah.
Is it Lieber? I can't remember.
But Midnight Special was a kind of a unsung movie that a lot of people haven't seen, stuff like that. He plays like a kind of weird kid that's being protected by like a cult and stuff like that. Not a bad movie. This dude is a really good child actor.
So, he did a fantastic job.
I gotta be honest. I think this movie got extremely lucky that they got away with 7, 8 child actors that did not disappoint.
To me, the odds are to have this many actors that did as well as like you have in the Stranger Things, which had 4 or 5 that did a pretty darn good job. To have 7, 8 do as well as they did was pretty magnanimous to me.
And then to have the fortunate of not having to worry about them growing up. These kids aren't going to be in the sequel. So
yeah, they don't have to be. So.
Well, they could technically, but it could be like glimpses or little snippets or different things. It's possible. I doubt it, but it's still possible.
If they play on the memory aspect of the book and stuff like that, then it's possible you will see like little flashes. I can see scenes where it's like the montage.
Exactly.
Where they show the older character, doing something and it kind of flashes to what he looked like when he was a kid and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But I don't think it's necessary.
Yeah, I don't think it will happen just because this movie was made for so little. I don't see them wanting to pay an actor twice. I think they're going to want to keep costs down.
Well, considering what cash load they have made so far, I think they're going to throw plenty of money at this next one to make sure that it doesn't disappoint. I really do.
Think. That'll be, I think, the most difficult situation is making another one with adult characters that will hit as hard.
Let's be honest with ourselves. They're going to have to do a really effing amazing job of casting these adult characters to mimic and match well with what these kids have set the tone at.
It's going to be hard. And the kids have already come out and said who they want to play them. And that alone, with the characters that they picked, was going to be like $120 million roll call.
We paid for everybody, but we're going to have to do this on toilet paper. Yes.
Yeah.
It's going to really
this is going to be more of a play than an actual movie.
Not going to work out.
But all right, so what did everyone think?
That's the best movie I've seen in a long time. One of the best scary movies I've seen in a long time. I'm not afraid to put it out there.
Like, really scary movie, though? We weren't really scared.
I might put it this way. Let me rephrase that. Not so much scared, but it's the last time. It's been a long, long time since I've gotten goosebumps and hair raising. Things happen either from anticipation, the shock of a scene, the level they decide to go at with different things. I can't think of another movie in a long time that's brought all that to play as well as this one did.
I mean, I can't think of a movie I've seen that kept my like goosebumps going, like you said, hair raised. Like,
you know, when I was a young guy, I remember when I first watched. I know this is an old blast from the past. I don't know if you were born. Was Candyman, and I went to see it in theater when I was little. And I'm talking about that shit was real when it came out. And when was that? The 90s when that came out,
dude. I'm telling you, Candyman still holds up. By the way,
and
Cabrini Green.
Yeah,
I don't know if I ever saw Candyman. Like, I think I just watched it with a pillow over my face.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that movie was the first one that I literally. I mean, I was trembling during parts of it because of anticipation and shock value. This brought that back to me.
Yeah, I mean, Cash, I'm with you. All right. It is my favorite book, all-time favorite book. I love this book. I've now listened to it twice, actually, which is a lot of time.
For those hours of the audiobook?
that's like 96 hours of listening.
For those of you that don't know, that is true commitment to audiobooking.
That's called being a
48.
Well, I knew the movie was coming out, so I decided to listen to it again.
Okay.
All right. So just so I could have a really good comparison of, you know, how they manipulated the movie from the book. I absolutely loved this movie. I thought it was fantastic. I mean, I really, really enjoyed it. And I came in with extreme expectations.
Well, because you told us about this movie 4 or 5 months ago when we actually had a different director.
Yeah, well, and that was the thing is when Cary Fukunaga was supposed to do it, I was super pumped. Dude. Because True Detective Season 1 is amazing. I still think best season of television of all time.
I don't know. It's definitely up there, but it definitely has a top 3 scene of all time. And what was it, episode 3 or 4?
4, yeah. Episode 4, yeah. But when he stepped away or like that, I was kind of disappointed. I know Stephen King had said something about how he was just blown away by the direction and script that he received. But then they brought this guy in, Andy M. or whatever, and I had seen Mama, which is his other credit. And Mama is legit good scary movie. Like, it's really well done. And matter of fact, it's got a Game of Thrones guy, Jamie is in it. He's one of the main characters.
So Jamie can actually do other things? Because I've seen a lot of his rom-coms. And
no, this is a super dark movie. It's super well done. So I was once again like, you know, okay with it. You know, like more raising my expectations when they brought this guy in, because I was just like, okay, well, excellent. We have an actual horror director coming in.
Well, especially since I talked to my buddy Lucas, and he was telling me why Fukunaga got cut out was because he was taking out the stuttering. He was changing pretty much all the characters' names.
Well, he wasn't staying true to the book. He
wanted to stay true to the atmosphere and what the book was trying to tell you.
Yeah.
But he wanted to update it in a manner that would change so much stuff that you remember about the Losers Club. And
it would kind of almost be like The Shining, to where like you just give it a different name and it's a fantastic movie, but when you're comparing it to the book, it's like not necessarily the same thing.
Right. And I think we had this conversation on another podcast, but when I read The Shining, I was like, oh, this is so scary and so well done. And then I watched the movie again and I was like, oh, this is dog shit. It's terrible.
I mean, you came out and said the movie was like a 2. It was like, oh no.
Well, that's probably, blaspheming to thousands and thousands of people that love horror movies. But I just have the feeling that they have never read the books, and I'm like, it's just not even a comparison. I mean, it's not even remotely close.
So, in my opinion, we brought Andy M. in to make it more of a horror movie to appeal to the new R rating that is becoming the new cash crop of movies now.
Which, thank God.
Well, the thing is, though, Fukunaga is super R rated guy too. All right, so, but here's the weird thing about it, though. There's some stuff in the book that I'm like, in this day and age of political correctness, of whatever the political climate is, they cannot put it in a movie.
Like, if the book was released for the first time, it wouldn't be able to sell. There's so much controversy in this book.
Yeah, I mean, there's stuff in there. I mean, I'll just go ahead and tell you, there's a 12-year-old gangbang in the book. Okay.
Lovely.
I mean, it's up for debate if it's like a bunch of solo stuff or if it's like a true gangbang, because like it.
No, it's a train.
Yeah,
that's what it is. Okay, it's a willing train. All right, let's just go ahead and say this right here. From this point forward, we're going to now spoil this movie. Are we going to say that?
I mean, we are going to be discussing details of the movie as well as incorporating information from the book to compare it to it. So if you have not read the book and you have not watched the movie,
this is not the
this
podcast
is
for
not
you.
where you want to continue.
Go watch the movie.
Unless you just want us to kind of spoil it so you know what you're going into. We do have fans that do like that, by the way.
I will say this. I will not spoil anything. I'm the only one that's read the book. I will not spoil any of the adult information.
Oh, we're not going to go past that.
I won't talk about anything that should be happening in the next movie.
There you go.
Because that would piss me off.
Maybe a little bit just to explain one of the characters, but we'll see if we get there.
See how
Okay.
it
But,
goes.
okay, yeah. In the books, Bev has sex with every single one of the Losers Club. Down in the tunnels.
And it's
Can
creepy.
we all agree that would have been a really bad idea if they'd done this in the movie?
It's a bad idea in the book. It makes no sense. It is so out there. And this is where a lot of people get a little weirded out by Stephen King because he has some of these weird little pervy things
in a few books.
in a lot of his books.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, man, that's so sketchy. And when it happens and stuff, it's like, I kind of get what you're saying. Like, okay, she's going to take their innocence away or whatever like that. You know what I mean? And that's how they get out. But it's like, nah, man, this is just some weirdness.
Yeah. It's like willingness and forgetfulness all at the same time.
It's just
It's
really,
bad.
Yeah.
really
Okay.
strange.
But okay, I think we can move on. But
But-
I did think for a slight moment they were going to do this scene, and I was like, oh, God, no, there's no way they put it in.
But they did reverse a couple things, though, in the other direction.
Yes.
Like Bev and her dad, okay? In the books, Bev and her dad, like her dad is almost like fighting with himself to not molest his daughter. Like he'll break a sweat and you can tell he's like staring like through her and like he's really fighting the
Is it going back to
urge.
your eye rape? You know,
Kind of, yeah. Kind of, right.
You patting that yet? Yeah.
But in the movie, I mean, it looks like it's pretty blatantly clear
He's molesting
at the
her.
fight scene.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do your friends know that you're still my little girl, or whatever? You know what I mean?
right.
It's
There's
like,
a lot of innuendo there.
so they kind of went the other directions, you know, where Stephen King held back a little bit and
They
made
dove all the
and
way
made it
in.
a little more scary, I think, in the book. To this one, it's a little more on the nose. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that's just more of the times. You know?
Could be definitely
Yeah,
definitely could be.
times. Let's before we dive really hard like that, let's talk about the characters themselves. Of all the child actors, who ended up doing your best job,
Richie.
and who was the weakest job?
Because of the books and stuff like that, and I love the ones that really stayed true to character. I mean, Richie, I think
That kid's a superstar waiting
the
to happen.
most, you know, as far as following the book and how he is, or whatever like that, Richie did the best job, I think. And Eddie.
Yes, Eddie's the germaphobe.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
He did a really good job.
Hypochondriac little kid with the crazy mom.
with Munchausen syndrome.
Those two, I think, played off each other like they do in the book.
You're
and they're
basically saying the
excellent.
two guys who had the most laughs.
Yeah.
Well, kind of. I mean, but that's how it is in the book too. Is these two, they're opposite ends of the spectrum. You know what I mean? One's like super, you know, hypochondriac, you know, is afraid of everything, and then Richie in the book is like, it's like he hates that he's doing it, but he's always down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's always
Right.
down for it. It's like even in the movie, you see like, who's coming with me? Richie always steps up first. You know what I mean? He's not the guy that's like, I'm going in there right now. But as soon as you ask him,
He's the perfect yes man.
He's always the wingman.
the dependable friend.
Right.
He's the best friend. You know what I mean?
and then he's gonna crack a joke of why he's in this room at the time. And
Yeah.
like the joke is always perfect.
yeah.
Like I mean, we had so many one-liners that had you and me cracking up the entire movie. Like people
Dude,
are
I'm
looking
not-
at us in the theater as we're repeating jokes.
Man, I'm not lying, dude. In the theater, because we went and saw an advanced screening of it, and I mean, I was just laughing my ass off. Some of the stuff that was written and the way he did them was just off the top.
So
He
you-
was my
you-
favorite character to watch. I'll be honest with you, the little kid in the beginning, Georgie.
Oh, Georgie crushes it. But
Because that guy, if he, for what little screen time he had, he delivered. I mean, I just have to say it. For some reason, his job was so memorable to do such. Even when he's talking to Pennywise in the drain, like he was a believable little kid.
Mm-hmm.
And when he was like, he's in the basement and he's, you know,
the end, though, man. Woo!
and it was the end. All that stuff. I'm sorry, to be the youngest one on the screen and
Yeah.
to be doing it better than the rest of them, to me, he stole the show even with his short amount of time on screen.
No, I agree. And tell you what, I'll be totally honest. This kid looks a lot like my middle child.
Yeah,
I'm
Cass was
sitting there.
I'm not going to say his name, but like that, I'm going to tell you, we're not going to be in the room alone with this Joker.
Yeah, like as soon as he popped
serious.
up on screen, I was like, that's Jake's
your
kid.
middle child.
I'm glad you realized that.
Ever has a yellow slicker? Deuces. You
I
know
was
what I'm
like-
saying?
I was
Well,
like,
no, I'm thinking of Halloween. I'm like,
Dude, if he puts him in a red
Yeah,
balloon
yeah.
in his hand and a yellow slicker,
I was like, if
when I was thinking about painting on his back, you'll float too. You know what
Oh.
I mean?
no, if you come to my
dude,
house, he's getting punched in the face.
no.
Like,
Hey, tell him to put his arm behind his back and have one arm missing.
Yeah. I mean, as creepy as that sounds, that kid looks exactly like
it's a
my
splitting
middle child.
image. And that was the
Yes,
first thing I
he
said.
does.
Same hair, same
Everything.
So I had like a personal touch that was freaking me out with him.
I don't know how you went
That's
home.
called you're going home with your pistol.
But plus also kind of like a heartbreaking thing because he looks so much like my kid. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like that. I think it kind of touched me even more. You know, the stuff that was going on with him, and I was just like, God, man, this is
So,
tough. Every time I look at it,
Are
I'm
y'all
like,
out there making little paper boats? Putting little wax out there with it.
no.
All right, so we said the best. Who was the weakest of the child actors?
I already know who you think pretty much, but it's Michael to me. Once again, coming off my book knowledge, it's something in this day and age, and political correctness again. They can't do Michael's character
Justice
in a movie because it's severe racism in the era that the book is set in versus them flash forwarding it to the 80s.
Yeah, I had a big problem with the racism in the 80s in Maine. I was like
well, no, it's okay because there wasn't any other than the white trash prick that was leading the bullies, right? I mean, really, the only racist thing you
suppose.
hear is from...
him.
Well,
Henry.
explain what you mean. Explain what you mean. To somebody who doesn't know what you're talking about, explain what you mean.
Well, Mike just had more character development because he was going through real shit. I mean, really bad shit.
Yeah.
He was an outside kid. He went to his own, he wasn't homeschooled. It was kind of like a private black church school that he went to for just minorities. Wasn't all black kids in it, but it was outside of town. But he is the only black kid that's in Derry, basically. All right? So it's like even the guys in the Losers Club are they barely see him.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So even when he's around, they're surprised. But man, I'm telling you, the stuff he endures in the book from Henry and them, just what they call him, the names they call him. I mean, it's just man, these are racial slurs I've never even heard of before.
Which is impressive growing up where we did.
Right. And the
really.
fact that they changed, this is a large change book to movie for Mike's character. Mike's dad and his mom are big characters. His dad especially.
Okay.
Granddad is not in the story at all.
And so the movie talking about how they got burned up and dead is not accurate to the book.
Not at all. No,
But I thought it was pretty cool how they did that and actually made his fear that. And I was like, because he had the scariest fear, I thought.
but it's so crazy what they changed. Okay, so you remember chubby kid, Ben Hanscom, right? So he starts talking about the black spot fire, right? By the racist group.
Yeah.
That happened to Mike's dad when Mike's dad was in the military. They weren't allowed to go to the officers' club, so they made their own club for black soldiers to have get-togethers and stuff, right? And it became so popular that even white women
were starting
and
to go
men
there.
started to come because they were having such a good time. They had good jazz band of just soldiers that could kind of play and stuff like that. So people started coming. So what were they called? The Knights of Decency, I think is what they were called, which is everybody thinks of the Ku Klux Klan or whatever like that. This is a way lesser known
faction
of white
supremacy,
white nationalist kind of people.
Which
or
you
like
gotta
that.
love the names of it. Knights of Decency.
Right.
Like,
Well, okay, so what they do
Something
is
belongs on a napkin.
they come in the middle of the night, and it's all the rich white people of the area actually, and they throw torches through one of the windows, and they accidentally throw it in the kitchen, and it creates this huge grease fire in the kitchen or whatever like that. Well, so many people rush the door, it barricades it, just like we've all seen before it happens. Panic creates this thing where too many people are trying to get out the door, so the door can't be opened because it opens inward.
Why
Not
how do we
outward.
still have inward? Well, I mean, I guess back then you don't
under code now you can't.
Right. So, but anyway, what's really cool about it is the chef from The Shining is another guy in the military and is one of his good friends and is the one that saves his life.
Yep.
And gets him out of the black spot. That's the name of the club or whatever that they created, okay?
That's because this book, The Shining, and there's another one that are in the same universe.
Right. So it's not Ben that's doing all the research on Derry. It's Mike when he's an older man.
Yeah, because Mike's a librarian.
In the future, okay? He's the one that does all the research. But it's such a cool moment in the book when his dad's kind of like on his deathbed and he finally tells him the story of what happened at the black spot. And he asks him, like, did you see anything that was super weird when that happened? And he says, yeah, a giant black bird came out of nowhere and picked up one of the white nationalists and took off with him. And he said, what was strange about that? He said it was something that he had a balloon. He said he picked the guy up and it wasn't like the bird was flying. It was like he was floating. Okay. So it was like, you got this really tingy thing. Of course, you don't realize until later on when he tells him the story, that's the thing that Pennywise turns into to scare Mike. Mike's not scared by Pennywise inside the butcher's thing. He's scared by a huge black bird that comes out of the Derry Iron Works, the other major disaster that Ben finds out about. Right. So what I'm saying is like Mike and his dad stories were completely altered, and the thing to me is Mike wasn't given enough material to be strong to me.
Well, I mean, you could see how they twisted that, and which is kind of genius is that they took away Mike's dad, who gives away all that situation, and then you take away the element of a giant bird, which would be difficult to make it look in modern or realism in this kind of movie, and so you shift the gears to one of the burn, the accidents like that, and then you make the other kid know the history of it, so that you're able to get the history in the first movie.
Yes,
but my thing is they did such a badass job with the burning hands coming out of that butcher shop door. That's what it looked like at the black spot. Mm-hmm. And then, so when you saw that in the trailer and stuff, I was like, holy shit, Mike's going to see the black spot disaster. Right. But no, it ended up... And the thing is there's all these hands and stuff like that. But it was just his parents that burned up in that house. Yeah. So it should have been 4 hands. But they put like 17 hands. Well, not only that,
did you notice, and this was brought up when I got on there and looked, is that there were white people hands.
Yeah, there's white people in the black spot that died.
Right, and so when he said, "Well, yeah, my parents died like that," I don't even hardly remember seeing any African American hands coming out.
Oh no, they were in there for sure. But remember, he even says that they
they were trying to break down
off to the bone. You know what I mean? So it's like,
and they were just trying to break into his room. So.
But it did such a badass job with that.
But I think why Mike's stuff got changed was just because they didn't want to deal with anything supernatural. Because in the book, there was a werewolf, there was mummies, there was that. They didn't want to mess with any of that.
Agreed.
And so,
but they did bring the mummy in at the very end. You get to see it's kind of there. It's not hugely overtly in your face. That's more of like throwing a bone to the book readers. Mm-hmm. Like they know what Ben's dealing with, right? But no, they changed almost everybody's fear that happened
to make it more realistic, so they didn't have to mess with all this CGI.
That's the updating they did. Okay, but they threw some bones to book readers, so you weren't like, oh, well, that's unfortunate. You know what I mean? Because you're so attached. Like me, I'm so attached to the things that happen in the book. But in a way, I can tell like why certain things aren't brought in. Mm-hmm. But man, there are a couple things. But, Richie, one of our favorite character, right? He doesn't see anything for a long time.
And I thought that was really cool.
And they go to the movies, and he was really cool. He pays for Ben to come with them, and then Bev shows up, and they're like, "Sure, Bev, you come too." And they go see the teenage werewolf,
and that was one of the movies that was on the movie theater screen. Was
right. And then something about a big eye. A big eyeball, right? And it's like, okay, cool. That's where they get their fears from.
Right.
Richie sees the teenage werewolf.
Yeah.
Whenever he sees Pennywise. Okay? Pennywise turns into that to scare him. And then Ben and Bev are like that. They really don't see what they're talking about, but the big eye shows up later on and stuff like that. So it's like you didn't get to see what created the fear they have.
I agree with that.
Eddie's is kind of on the nose. The leper, he's terrified of germs. And
that
stuff
makes
like
perfect sense.
Makes total sense, right? He didn't have to have a movie to show him that he would be terrified of a leper. But the leper in the book, remember the door's open, right? And he's like, "What you looking for, Eddie?" Yeah. You know what I mean? In the book, he's like, "I'll suck your dick for a dime." For $1 or whatever like that.
There we go.
And he goes, "Never mind, I'll do it for a dime." And he's trying to run off or like that. "Hell, I'll do it for free." You know what I mean? But he's disgusting.
Yeah.
His face is rotting off him and stuff like that.
Wow. Yeah, I can see that not working.
But the thing is, that's the difference. They're hobos.
Yeah.
Because it's back in the 50s and 60s and stuff like that. It's legit hobos. And the house on Nebo Street is near a railroad.
That makes perfect.
They're track jumpers and stuff.
Right.
So it's like they had to modify it. You know what I mean? And sometimes it works out, and sometimes I think it would have been better the other way.
Yeah. Well, to dive into the movie, in the first 5 minutes, I had a bet with Cash, and we both lost horribly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because we were both like, because I remember when you and I spoke about the original It, and we talked about how when they made the movie, you told us that when Georgie meets Pennywise for the first time, and that the attack loses his arm, and that the miniseries decided not to do this, and so on. And so Cash and I were like, well, the movie's going to come down to this one scene right here. It's going to tell us if we take the arm, we know where we're going. It's going to be amazing, badass. And if they don't take the arm, I have to be concerned moving forward.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And so I was like, yeah, no, they're not going to take this little kid's arm.
Yeah, we both look at each other. We're like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not taking a sucker bet. And then literally 2 minutes later, everybody in the room's going, "Oh my God, shit!" And we got this little kid in his arm, and he's wiggling on the ground. I was just like blown away.
And what'd y'all think about the teeth? Like that,
I thought it was amazing.
They did an excellent job with the teeth, because that's the one thing about the miniseries version, the Tim Curry teeth.
Mm-hmm.
They're cool for their day, but they look prosthetic.
Yeah, that doesn't
you can tell
hold
they were
up.
put in his mouth. Yeah.
Right. Even though this is clearly CG, it looks like a monster.
Yeah, it's scary enough for me. Like, I mean, this is definitely the scariest part of Pennywise to me.
Right. But I will say that's my weakest point of the movie is when they decided to use CG. I wish they would have stuck with their practical effects they were doing so well with. And they were sprinkling in light CG to make it look cool, but I wish they would have stuck with some practical stuff more often.
You want to talk about homage to your original movie, is that they lit up his eyes while he was in the drain.
Oh, yeah.
That right there, because that's the only scene that they do the whole make his eyes glow.
So freaky.
But they did a really cool thing with his eyes. We've already talked about Bill Skarsgård's wandering eye. Mm-hmm. Okay, but Pennywise in the movie, they specifically will hold one eye still while the other one's going somewhere. You know what I mean? And it was like that was your sign to know that something bad was about to happen. Okay, it was like a cue. Mm-hmm. When his eyes start going wonky, that means he's about to go full-blown monster on you. All right? In the trailer, I was terrified that they weren't going to take his arm because they kept showing an empty storm drain.
Yeah.
And, like zooming in or zooming out from it or whatever like that. I was like, oh, man, he's just going to pull him into the drain, and that's going to be it. So I was super happy, which is so demented to say, when they bit the arm off. But then that shot, the aerial shot of the arm coming out and reaching to grab, that was so badass.
So well done.
Oh, sick, man.
Because it was just the pace.
Yeah.
How it was just barely going out, like taking its time to go get him.
And it looked like the arm was going to just stretch. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I mean? Like it was just going to abnormally stretch out and get him. I was like, oh, man, this is fantastic.
All right. What did y'all think of the buck teeth and drooling?
I thought the drooling was fantastic. Like, I don't know how a human being is able to drool as much as Bill Skarsgård pulled off in these scenes, but it was just like he had an unlimited drool supply coming out of his mouth.
It was gross. Like, he was grossed out by it. The buck teeth was something I was surprised by. I mean, I knew they were doing it, and they were crooked too. Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't know where they got that inspiration from.
There was when I was looking online and social media like that, there was kind of a 50-50 of, I thought it was a distraction. It took away from the effect of the entire clown.
I think it kind of is a little bit. And to be honest with you, the size of his head is a little bit distracting.
The whole forehead, how enormous it was.
I mean, that was about a 9 head. Let's be real. That thing was...
This is a drive-in movie.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't mind it because I thought it just added more to the stigma of that he's not really human in humanoid shape.
Correct.
Because there was other scenes in the movie, like when you saw like part of his face get damaged in his eyes, and you got to see that the teeth in his mouth could moved and shifted it with inside the head and all that stuff. Like I think it added more to, that you're not dealing with something that's not even close to being remotely human.
His skin would chip away like a porcelain doll.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It would like crack and chip.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which I thought was really cool looking.
It was. Now, I have to tell you, I was really, really, and y'all might, and maybe the book gives you something like that. Like when the It character gets hurt, everything goes in reverse gravity. You know what I mean? Like if if his skin went up, it went up. If he was bleeding, it went up. All these stuff like that. So
floats.
It floats, right?
Right.
And I'm guessing that's like, you'd have to be a book reader to figure this out.
That's not in the books.
Okay, that's
just a creative decision they made.
I thought that was kind of, I think it was a cool effect, like that. But I was kind of I'm hoping that the next movie gives us an explanation of why. You know what I mean? Because that was one thing that was kind of okay. I mean, don't get me wrong, like I said, it was a cool visual.
Well, this is going to be the main question of the next movie: is are they going to legitimately talk about what it is? Okay,
right.
I was pleasantly surprised at the very end with what they did with Bev, when his mouth opens up, super wicked.
Yeah. It's like,
and you see the 3 lights in there. Okay, that's the dead lights, is what that's called. Okay, that is what it is. Okay, like, oh my God, it's so crazy to think about, because I don't see how there's any way possible they can put it in the movie, but that it is a from outer space interdimensional monster. Okay,
right, that
lands on Earth like before the dinosaurs. Okay, he's been there forever, and he's just like soiled this area, and then the town of Derry was built, around it and stuff like that. But that's why every 27 years there's these crazy events that keep happening.
He can't handle our atmosphere and everything, and that's why.
First it starts with kids. They go missing, right? Feeds on kids, and their fear. Feed. And then he has one massive event that he does before he hibernates, okay?
Right.
And then he sleeps for 27 years, all right? But the thing is, the deadlights is what you can't explain. It's like if he shows you the deadlights and you like see what he is, mm-hmm. It like takes you to another dimension, and they're trapped there. Like your soul is trapped there. Okay, like when she's floating there, blanked out or like that, she's gone. I mean, that's what all the kids floating up there. They're stuck in the deadlights. Okay.
How in the hell would you get this?
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying.
You've gone onto another level.
And I'm telling you, they didn't do the ritual of Chud. Okay? That's what I'm saying. They go into some weird stuff.
Yeah, like the kids have... There's a lot of peyote involved in the books to figure out how you get
It's not peyote, but they do a Native American ritual to where all the braves get into a teepee, right? And they light a fire in it. And they close off the ventilation, and it fills with smoke.
Essentially,
and the last person in there will have an out-of-body experience to answer some question you have, right?
Right, okay.
So the question was, Native Americans who have dealt with something like it before, they had a thing called the ritual of Chud, okay? So you do this thing, and that's how they learned, that you have to bite onto the tongue, all right, and hold on while you have a mental battle with it. I mean, it's insane.
Okay.
They can't put it in the movie because
obviously,
nobody would understand what the hell it's talking about.
No. Okay. Well, how do y'all want to break the movie down? Do we want to go by character or how the movie progresses?
No,
or what you thought was the best parts, and where it hurt and detail wise.
Yeah, I wouldn't go character to character. That's just so much talking. But
all right, well, let's talk about this. All right, the movie goes at a pretty good clip. I mean, the pace is rolling for a 2.5 hour, 2 hours 15-minute movie. I mean, like when Cash and I watched it together,
like we were an hour in,
and I felt like we had watched 2 hours of footage because it was moving along.
The number one complaint I've heard about the movie is its relentless pace. That you'll get at maximum 5 minutes of non-scare something happening.
Yeah.
That's it.
To me, that wasn't a complaint. Like I told Cash when the movie's over, the one thing that made the movie so great for me is that you were always in the ropes. The entire movie.
No, it didn't bother me, but you gotta understand that people were becoming numb to Pennywise because it was happening so often. You're like,
he was just never scared.
Okay.
Yeah, like if they would have split up the kids' fear stories, because we did get like all 7 of them back to back to back to back to back to back. So if there was a way they could have split those up a little bit,
man, in 2 hours 15 minutes, there's no way.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
That's
you
nitpicking.
Can't. You have to put 24 hours of book time into 2 hours. It's not possible.
No.
Well, not only that, I mean, if you wanted to talk about the kids and their scary stuff like that, to me, most of them didn't get the justice they needed for their scare scene.
Exactly.
Like I thought Ben, the heavyset kid, like that. I thought his scare thing.
My favorite scene
was the eggs and the headless man chasing him.
Yeah.
I thought it was scary as crap like that, but it was come and go. It was gone.
I don't care.
When
that kid's chasing him through the halls,
even
and
before
then you hear, "Hey, egg boy," and he turns and it's the clown chasing him. That was my favorite moment
Before that, did you even notice when he's in the library right before it all happens, when we see the balloon?
The old woman?
Both of the people in the background not moving. Time froze.
Yeah. And did you see the old woman? That kept getting closer and closer and closer till it was right on top of him before he turned and saw the egg?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was so subtle that what they were doing. He'd look at the paper and it'd pan up a little bit and she'd be a little bit closer. A little bit closer.
And the 2 people in the background just hadn't moved yet. And I was like, oh, God. Oh, God.
I mean, but it was a quick. I mean, you weren't expecting it. And all that stuff happened. And then, like you said, we didn't get anything for some. But then.
Well, I mean, to stick with Ben for a second, like, how was his fear what he just read in the book? Like, how is his thing like the egg?
That's what I'm saying. But.
Like, I mean, that was what made Ben's...
Like the eggs were like, what the shit does the eggs got to do with it?
It was super cool, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was what he was reading in the book about the dairy.
The dairy ironworks exploded during an Easter gathering at the dairy ironworks.
Right, but
so, like,
why was that his
fear?
nightmare?
Yeah,
his fear.
No, it's just because it was on his mind. He was reading about it.
Right, okay. But, like, later in the movie, they talk about he uses your greatest fear against you. But his eggs weren't his greatest fear. It's just what was a hot topic right now.
No, that happens in the movie too, or in the book too. Like if there's something going on, he'll freak you out with it.
Well, I mean, I could see like my greatest fear as a little kid being the teenage wolf. Like if I go see that movie, that's gonna be my biggest fear for like 2 or 3 months.
Right at the moment.
But just reading about the egg hunt and stuff, it was just like ugh.
But like man, there was some cool Easter eggs in here.
Oh,
No pun on words. The head that you see in the tree, he keeps turning the page and it zooms in on the head.
Yeah.
Or like that. That happened in the Dairy Ironworks explosion. 88 children died.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And they found just parts all over the place and stuff like that in the explosion. But one lady stepped into her backyard and one of the kids' heads was in the tree of her backyard or like that. And it was like a nightmare scenario.
I can imagine.
So it's like, that's why that's in there. Yeah. It's like, oh man, if you read the books, you know what that's a good little nugget. It's so cool.
And like when he was turning the pages in the book, it was just the same picture over and over again, right?
Just zooming in. Yeah. That's it.
I thought that was pretty cool how they did that in the movie.
And then to turn it into the headless kid that's chasing him, what I mean? That's like cool, man. That's well done to me.
Well, not only that, just to watch how that thing was moving and how it was like rigid and coming at the stairs and then it's still smoldering.
Oh, the egg smoldering there was so cool.
It was really cool. Well done.
Yeah.
Who did y'all think had the scariest fear?
That'd be
because mine, like, it's a toss up between two. Mine was either Georgie or Bev's.
Bev's didn't bother me at all. Bev's actually I thought was the weakest of them.
That hair coming out of the sink.
Like, see, I have a problem with the hair and drains.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Her whole scene, I hated it. To be honest with you. Now I know it was homage to the first movie and this and so on, but to me, like that doesn't play as her worst nightmare. It does. It just doesn't.
I don't know, man.
That right
No,
there, it had nothing to compare it to, nothing to go with.
Well, that's a slight misunderstanding I think you're having or whatever like that. They tried to even kind of hit you over the head with it, with her looking for a tampon.
Yeah.
Okay. Bev's biggest fear is becoming a woman. All right.
Well, they don't do that well at all.
That's what I'm saying. She has all the rumors that she's a slut and stuff like that. That is not in the book at all. Okay.
Yeah, because I was wondering how you even developed those rumors and stuff with how
it's just more subtly done in the book or whatever like that with her. It is blood that comes out of the sink that gets her, not hair. That's new. They added that part where the hair grabs her and holds her face into it.
Well, and I thought that was the added scary effect.
I thought it was kind of cool because there are people that have legitimate fears of that drain hole and stuff like that in the hair.
Yeah, because like Final Destination when
all that stuff.
Oh man,
Good Lord.
Hey, those are classics. They're not good.
I mean, but like the parts that bothered me, like I said, it was the only subtle, as you say, scary one of all of them. That you couldn't reference clearly from what they were giving you in the movie. With the movie now, okay. Yeah. And so what I loved about the movie and like that is because I didn't have the book knowledge and I didn't have the previous movie. I on purpose didn't watch it because I wanted to go into this completely naked, And
see, Stan was the one I didn't like.
Yeah,
I didn't care for the twisted painting lady.
It was freaky about it.
His right there is that it started off as his nightmare and he never gave you context of it before that.
Well, my thing was, who the hell is that painting in their office?
Yeah. Like, who wants to look at that thing?
Right, I just thought it was too random to me. That's what it was.
Yes, it was. That was my second worst.
Yeah, see, I didn't like Stan's. And everybody else I was kind of okay
Even though
with.
It was creepy as shit, though. And they were able to continue it. But, like, I mean, once you did the blood thing, with her in the bathroom, that's great. And then the second part of the blood thing that pissed me off was them going to clean it. I mean, I'm sorry.
That made no sense.
There was zero way they were cleaning that bathroom as spotless as they did it.
Well, no, but okay, so once again, like I said, that's something you're not from the book. That's a huge scene in the book. It's a major scene because it's showing that the adults are completely oblivious to what's happening. Okay, that they're.
Oh, I saw it when Dad comes in there and he's completely like he doesn't see any of the blood, doesn't see any of her. She's covered up and the whole 9 yards. Because Cash and I were just scratching our heads when we were watching, just like, what are they trying to tell us here?
No.
Other than that, like I said, that's where if you didn't have book knowledge. You don't get that.
Well, no, they were trying to show it to you too, though. They did a few things. So when Ben's getting his H carved on his stomach, and the people just drive by,
that was
or
a
like that,
scene.
and they just look, and they don't help him, and stuff like that. That's what happens in Derry. People just overlook it. If it's happening to the kids, it just nobody pays attention. Okay.
Well, I'm happy you explained that because that was another thing. I was like, there was no point in having that with the balloon. The balloon is what bothered me. It's the guy, the people driving by and ignoring the bullies. I'm okay with that. That completely made sense. Then the balloon popping up in the car afterwards was kind of like.
No, that's what's trying to tell you. Pennywise is like a poison on the town. Okay, just his presence there creates all this, like.
Out of sight, out of mind kind of thing, or
the pharmacist being so creepy like that to Bev.
Oh
like
man,
that.
when she was like, "Oh, you look like Clark Kent."
Yeah, that was lame.
I was like, "Oh, we didn't need it." I was like, "We didn't need that." Oh god.
But that's what it does. That's what I'm saying. It turns all the adults dark. I mean, one of the things that they just hit on a little bit after the dark spot or the black spot. I'm sorry. But before that was the Bradley gang shootout or whatever they talked about. They don't talk about it at all. But the Bradley gang shootout is super badass in the book. Mob gang or whatever like that, hiding out in the mountains above Derry. All right. They come into town looking to buy guns and ammunition.
Okay.
The guy that owns the gun store recognizes who they are. All right. And he's like, sure. He's like, I can give you half the ammunition right now. And then 2 days from now, around noon, I can give you the other half. And they agree to it, okay? The Bradley gang's like 6 people, okay? It's 2 women and 4 guys.
That's pretty cool.
But what he does is he set them up to show up in town, in the middle of the town, at noon, 2 days from now, okay? So he just goes around and he starts telling his friend. And he tells the next friend. And that guy tells another guy. And that guy tells another guy. Until that day, every man in the town is armed and just casually waiting in the town square, basically, around this shop. And they all pull up, and the entire town massacres them. Just blows them away. I mean, just shoots their cars up, shoots both the women. You know, they get out trying to run, blows them away. Everybody blows away, right? And next day is like it never happened.
That's creepy.
Like everybody just goes about their business. The sheriff was there.
Pumping lead into him.
Shooting him up too. But later on he comes back and says he was out of town on a hunting trip. So I'm saying like that in the Bradley Gang shootout was the big moment. All right. And they finally ask a guy that was alive then, old man in a retirement home. Mike asks him, was there anything weird that happened or whatever like that? He said, yeah, there was a clown hanging out of the window, like fake shooting at him. All right. And then he says, it was so weird, though. I got further down the road, and there was the clown again. And he was giving balloons to kids. And the kids were all freaked out. Oh. Then I got a little further down the road, and there he was again. And he was doing something else.
So hopefully we get these flashbacks in the sequel or
you know
something.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's almost like this needs to be 3 parts, you know?
No, it needed to be like an HBO series.
Yeah.
One whole season.
Like a 10-hour epic.
Yeah. It needs that much time to really go into the effect that Pennywise has on the whole city of Derry.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, let's refocus on the movie itself. All right. Of all the things that happened in the movie, what were some of the things they did really, really, really well in your mind that they brought that was something new and unique? Because there was so much going on in this movie.
I thought like the slow, like before he chased you, how he was really slow and was like building up speed, and then he'd shake really fast, and then it was just like a full out, not even a sprint. Yeah. Like if I was watching that in 3D, I think I would have popped out of my chair every single time.
My thing is, I thought it was like filmed like gorgeous. Mm-hmm. Like I thought it was super pretty to look at. Like I mean, like just the lighting, where they decided to put the camera,
how bright the screen was, because like I
felt like I was watching Stranger Things. It had a good flair. It really stuck to the 80s so well.
Oh, it did. It was great. And then they throw in like a Molly Ringwald joke, and she's even dressed like Molly Ringwald. But just all the stuff, man. I love the scene where they're jumping off the cliff, and they're all just like mesmerized that she's half naked and stuff like that. And
dude, the whitey anti-tighties that they were rocking.
Oh yeah, the loose fitting white tights.
The classic. The orange, was it like a gold and black band?
They're all exactly the same.
Yes,
all exactly the same, all across the board. But you know what, man? Kudos to those kids not being embarrassed one bit to just stand there in your underwear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was just like,
even the kids there calling tits, and that's the giant H coming out.
The poor chubby kid. I'm like,
he has some of the weirdest nipples in the world.
Super balls to this kid for like showing himself.
I'm gonna be honest with you. He got the shaft most of the entire movie.
Oh, they were hard.
He had the H. And then there was a scene where he got completely clawed and looked like his guts were hanging out.
Yep.
And then he's the one who gets his hopes dashed.
Poor Ben. But like when he got the H and Eddie's trying to stitch him up and Richie's going into the British doctor accent.
Cheerio, chap, get in there.
It's like,
suck it out. Yes.
Shut up, Richie. I don't need the British doctor right now. I need more medicine.
So that's the thing they weren't able to do with Richie. Richie does voices nonstop.
Yeah.
In the book. Non-stop. Like,
God, I wish we would have gotten more voices, because like as soon as he was going into him, I was like, this is this character.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only time you get to hear it. But he has all his other voices are extremely racist. You can't do it.
Well, voices are not his one-liners. They had me going,
yeah.
man.
Like when they're dumping out the books at the end of school, it's like, oh, greatest affiliate ever. It's like, oh, wait till you tickle your pickle.
No, man. When he said, my boy Tits was like, it was originally a beaver trap in town. Still is, boys.
Leave him hanging.
With the flag.
Am I right?
Oh, man. The entire theater was just coming out of their shoes and were laughing so damn hard.
Still is, boys. Oh, man.
But all right, there were several jump scare scenes. There were several parts they did in the movie. I mean, like, I thought the house was really, really cool. I thought the special effects was really well done. I thought the outside of the house was not near as well done as the inside of the house was done.
No, I totally agree. I think the outside of the house was so out of place. Mm-hmm. Like, any town would have bulldozed
that
this
house
stupid
by
house.
Exactly, because I mean, if this was old and condemned, that made no sense. Because when they showed the houses leading up to it, it was like modern houses of the 70s that had tarps over them and they were dilapidated. And then you have this, 1800s old mansion manor. It really wasn't that big, and it's still with all wood side. I mean, it was stuck out like a sore thumb.
Yep.
It didn't match. If it would have been a lot better if it was like outside the town limit or something where it was isolated, and somewhere in there they said it was part of some family that so it's not untouchable. Whatever. Make it where the reason it's still there is you can't touch it for whatever reason.
Well,
people avoid it.
Put a sign on there: no trespassing. Historical society.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Like it's got the 100-year grant to where
protected.
Right.
Protected home because it is the well house of the town. Whatever.
Right. That's the thing about this movie is that there was minor details throughout that they could have done better. If you're a super detailer-oriented person, like I am, like that, and so on. Because this house, as cool as it was, it stuck out like a sore thumb.
Well, the thing was too, we never saw the house at night. We saw the house in the middle of the daylight.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, always.
So it looked super contrasted to everything else around it. So it was like, hey man, kudos for you showing us it in the daytime. That's cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But at night, this I think wouldn't have stuck out like a sore thumb as much. It would have been just as creepy. But it was tough because, like you say, it doesn't look like the houses next to him.
It does. That was the worst thing they did was show this kid go down there and look at all these houses on the way to this one.
Yeah,
I mean, he looks like on a street that has.
Well, I mean, it almost looked like that was just his natural way of walking home.
Yeah, and to me, and later on when they explained that it was completely random that he was by himself at that house.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like it was convenient for him to have seen that house for us before we got the information about it later.
No, I don't think so. The books really harp on this or something like that. One of the voices that Richie does is an Irish cop that comes. Like the way all these guys meet, or like that, is a couple of them are in the Barrens, that river that's running through like that. They create a dam, okay, and it blocks up the river. But that river is also what flows the gray water. So it just backs up all these houses, and floods their toilets and stuff like that. But this Irish cop comes down and is talking to him and is like, "Don't get your panties in a wad." You know what I mean? I'm not gonna take y'all to jail or anything like that. Just let's tear it down. He explains why it's a problem, and then he tells them, y'all shouldn't play down here.
Yeah,
he knows how many kids have gone missing and things like that. He's a cop.
But I mean, I've got to say, I'm really disappointed you didn't try an Irish accent there.
No, won't do it.
I was like, oh, he's going to commit to this, and then.
But
nothing.
Richie, is terrible at accents, but he tries them all the time, and he does the Irish cop to his face. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying, that's another character that would have given you that another little level or whatever.
Right.
But it makes sense because he tells the kids, don't be alone anymore.
Yeah. Well, it's
travel with your friends.
At least there's some kind of adult that.
But he doesn't tell them that until after each of them have had their experience by themselves.
Okay.
Because they're losers. They don't have friends.
Yeah.
A couple of them hang out, like Eddie and Bill hang out. You know what I mean? But Ben's not in the group.
No.
Bev's not in the group. Richie's kind of in and out, and Stan's kind of in and out. And so it's like they are alone a lot of the time.
Right? I mean, there's a reason that they are the losers club and everything.
Right. It's the clown situation is what brings them together. Okay. And Henry Bowers. They're all victims of Henry, so they all kind of stick together.
Okay.
So
I got you.
So don't feel like it's tropey or weird that one of them was on their own when something happens, because they all had to have that.
Well, the deal is though, what you're talking about is you're relating that information from the book. In the movie, though,
it looked like they'd all been best friends.
They'd all looked like there was a group association, and for have him solo on that street didn't match the rest.
Even
of the movie.
Georgie goes like, "I've got 3 friends, but Bill is my bestest friend." And I was like, "Oh man, you just marked Bill." But it was like, and so like it made it seem like, I guess, Richie, Eddie, and Bill had been friends for a long time, and even coming out of school.
Right,
those 3 were together.
No, and they are. They're the friends.
Yeah,
right.
Okay, they're the ones that are decent, and so is Stan. Okay, which is how it is in the movie too. Mm-hmm. Ben's a new kid. Bev's, an outsider girl. And then Mike shows up being pushed into each other.
How do you feel about Ben getting 2 new kids on the block jokes? I mean, not just one.
I thought it was just 80s relate.
I thought it was great though. When he yells at her, "Don't go, girl," or whatever like that. I was like, "Oh, this is great." And then they did an excellent job in his room.
Oh,
everybody's looking, and they just start flashing to it, but they do like ID network, like it's making a murderer. You know what I mean?
And then all of a sudden you get the door.
Please don't say anything. And she just gently closes back the door. I was like, oh man, that's so cool. You know what I mean? He's like, thank you.
Do you think I always call him Tits because that's the nickname he got in the movie, but do you think that was a good representation of the history to give you a Pennywise? To me, I was soaking it up like a dry sponge. I wanted more and more and more to get history, which that's what I'm hoping the sequel does. Do you think it was enough?
No, but I mean, with how long the movie already was, like, how do you sneak an extra 5 to 10 minutes in there?
I mean, they did some really cool ways of trying to make it. They put it into Ben's character because Ben's character spends an exorbitant amount of time at the library.
Yes.
Okay. So they gave it to him. The way they do it in the book, Mike is writing all this down, okay, as he's remembering it, and he cuts into 4 different intermissions, basically, and tells a classic story of Derry, of when one of these major things happens.
I got you.
You learn about the Derry Ironworks. You learn about the Bradley Gang. You learn about the Black Spot, and then there's one more, I think. But like I said, all those major events, you learn, you know what I mean? And then everybody has a story where they say they saw the clown, and it was always involved. You know what I mean? Nobody understands why, and it was always out of place. Like, people are always like, well, there was a carnival in town, so I thought
he was part of that.
Maybe he was just, a remnant of it or something like that.
I love that when they were showing the pictures in the book and stuff like that, they threw it through the book or something, and there was a page where you saw...
Yeah, Pennywise carved in like a wood carving.
A wood carving, like that. And then I also saw there was a scene where there was like a traveling carriage that had like a clown picture on it, amongst it back in late, 50s or whatever it was in the picture. And I caught those details. And then, of course, when you get to see the carriage at the end towards the end of the movie, you're able to make those comparisons. I thought they did some really cool little gold nuggets early for you to have that visual catch at the end.
Agreed.
So on. But like when I told him, I was like, God, I was just thirsting for more, to give you more about what he was. And I'm really hoping to deliver that on the second part. Now, what was your biggest jump scare or your biggest holy crap moment of the movie?
I'll say one of my favorite moments is when he comes out of the refrigerator.
Yeah,
because
that's
he's
the first
upside
time
down,
they ever see him,
and he's all twisted up, and he steps out.
Yeah, that was the first time they ever saw Bill Skarsgård in the Pennywise makeup. It was like 2 months into the movie and everything.
Yeah, that's when the kids.
Yeah, that's when the kids first see him.
Right.
They hid him from the kids or like that. Yeah, but when he comes out of the fridge, I just thought they did an excellent job with the CG and everything like that. It looks so well done.
Because he comes out like upside down and
play on the clown thing of like coming out of a little tiny car. When he came out of that, I was like, man, that is just so cool, so well done. Mm-hmm. I really, really enjoyed that part.
That's the same scene where like you got to see part of his mouth, like on the side of his face that didn't matter, and then you got to see his hand change and stuff. And that's when
Eddie's arm was like grotesquely broken.
Yeah, that's when Ben gets raked across the stomach, which also happens in the book. But it's the teenage werewolf that does it to him.
Yeah, right. So the whole the house scenario was pretty cool. I'm gonna be honest with you. The biggest jump for me, which I was just like leaning back in my chair, like that when he comes out of the movie theater or out of the movie clipping screen, in the garage,
Oh yeah, when the thing turns to the wall and
Right.
he comes out.
You know, I mean, I know it's super size like that.
And they're
but
trying to unplug it and everything.
I mean, like, even though they gave a lot of that away in the preview, the way they finished that,
They didn't give away the big part though.
I'm talking. I mean, holy shit! It was like I was literally leaning back in my chair, like, holy McJesus.
That's the thing. It's like one of those things you could have almost been a 3D movie.
It really
Where
was.
it's like he's like coming out of the screen at you. It seems like.
I mean, this was one of the few times I was like, maybe I could go through wearing those terrible 3D glasses. Like,
oh man,
Yeah.
I'll never. Man, those are
Never.
I'll never go back to 3D.
Terrible experience.
Yeah,
but I mean, no, that one was so well done, and just like how quickly they were trying to move out of everything, backpedal and stuff. And that's when Bill finally is like, no, I'm not scared of you anymore. And I mean, I
Right.
thought that was a huge moment.
Well, it was a turning point.
Yeah.
You know.
But for me, like, it was just somehow I didn't see it coming. It was after she killed her dad. And then she just turns the cameras and Pennywise has got her by the throat. And I was like, yep, that first time the jump scare got me.
Well,
Oh, you're talking about when she kicks her dad in the balls and hits him over the head.
Yeah, with
Yeah.
the toilet thing.
Yeah, hits him with the top of the toilet.
I
Yeah.
assumed that he was dead after that. Like,
Yeah, that was the best jump. Like you weren't expecting Pennywise to grab her right then and there.
Yeah. But once again, that's another thing. You should know better that Pennywise is working through
Yeah.
her dad.
And,
Okay.
like,
Right.
what my buddy told me was he saw it coming because she was to the right of the screen instead of like being in the center. And so you should
it's
know.
strangely cropped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like whenever something like that, there's going to be something right there to the left. And it was
Right.
like,
And in the book, this scene lasts way longer. You know, he does attack her or
Yeah.
like that, and she gets out of the apartment. And he chases her all the way through Derry. And she ends up hiding under a dumpster and just getting covered in filth.
Wow.
I mean, so it's like, but she can tell though. She sees him and his eyes have gone blank. And he's just like chasing like a zombie basically. She realizes that Pennywise
Is
is
control.
able to like inspire and work through people. You know what I mean? And
See, I wish they
bring out the
would've-
worst in them.
that would have been cooler if they would have done that in the movie because it would have made a lot more sense by the end with Henry at the end of the movie and everything instead of it just kind of happening.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the thing with the TV and the balloon and the knife being back in
Yeah.
in his mailbox and stuff like that, I thought that was cool done.
But I would dare say that Henry was scarier than Pennywise in this movie.
No. No.
No?
I think the kid who played Henry did a good job, and I like what he did and stuff like that. But no.
The only thing I didn't like about Henry was his walk to the mailbox. It was weird.
Well, yeah, he kind of had like
Like a
his swaying shoulders. You know.
yeah, I don't know
it
what he was
really
doing.
strange.
It was strange.
Well, the balloons, I thought they were well done. I mean, I loved how they did that stuff, and that was the scene where there was a balloon attached to the mailbox. You know.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And they did one of them, the one with Patrick Hostetter. You know, where it says "I love dairy" on it.
Yeah.
Before he gets wherever, and so that is one of the major differences they changed. Okay, is what happens to Patrick and what happens to Henry and his two buddies and stuff like that. Like that's a huge change they made.
Okay,
Okay.
so yeah, one of the goons goes into the sewer.
All right, that's Patrick Hostetter.
Okay, and he sees the dead kids or the zombies, basically. Is that what I saw?
Yeah, they're like burn up people.
And then of course Pennywise.
I can only assume that maybe these are possibly other Dairy Ironworks people or something like that.
To me, it looked like other kids. Like when
It
you
looked
found
like the
that
kids
shoe,
that were floating.
when you found that shoe that had the girl's name that was missing, I felt like they were showing you the girl, but partially destroyed, and then other kids and
Possibly.
other people.
Possibly.
Because they were all shorter than he was.
Yeah.
Even though he was a taller kid, I think they were trying to show you that these were other kids.
Well, first off, perfect casting for Patrick Hostetter. This kid is like what you just hope he'll look like from the book in the movie.
The only thing I was like, man, that small aerosol can, you got about one more blow and that thing's done.
Okay. But they couldn't do Patrick Hostetter in this day either. Patrick Hostetter is the fucked up kid that everybody grew up with that knew, oh, that's the kid that's going to be the serial killer.
Okay.
He's the kid that was killing like neighborhood pets.
Oh, so
He had a weird thing with
No conscience.
There's a junkyard and there was a refrigerator. And the thing with refrigerators and junkyards, they always pull the doors off.
yeah.
Because if a kid's just trying to play and hide and seek inside one of them, it closes, you can't get out. And they're like, you suffocate. His thing was he'd go collect animals and things like that. He put it in the fridge and shut the door and just come back every day and just watch what state they were in until they died. You know what I mean? He was a super creepy dude. Even jerks off Henry in the book. Okay?
Like
and then asks him, you want me to suck it? And that's when Henry like punches him in the nose and he's like, I don't play with that gay shit. Like, he was just jerking you off, you weirdo.
Is it at least
This
a Dutch
kid is
rudder?
like,
Oh, God,
this kid is ultra creepy. Like, gross.
Yeah, this book.
So yeah,
So that's why you listen to it twice, huh?
so they can't go as far
No.
even as Stephen King.
Hell no.
But the thing is, he was cast so perfectly, and he's so weird and lanky, and you know what I mean. I was like, oh, this really good job. I was
reminded
almost
me of the
sad
guy-
when he died because he dies
So
like-
quickly.
Well, he just dies horrifically in the book.
Well, he dies off camera here.
Exactly, and I was totally surprised by that. He dies. He doesn't die by it. He opens up that fridge one time, and then you're used to like seeing flies or something like that, but inside that is like these massive mosquitoes that all fly after him, and they start just sucking huge pints of blood out of him.
So it's like a
immediately.
Muskirkes?
You know what I mean? And then he falls down, and then Pennywise is like this big monster, just grabs him and starts dragging him through the woods and stuff, bites him in half basically and stuff. It is sick. You know what I mean? And Bev witnesses it.
Good Lord.
Bev even gets bitten by one of the mosquitoes in her arm. And it like puts like a 1/8-inch hole in her arm and is going at her, and she like smacks and just blood just goes all over her and stuff like that, and she takes off running after that. Because she also witnesses the disgusting jerk off scene, with him and Henry and stuff like that, and she's like trying to cover her mouth so she doesn't like laugh out loud because she knows they'll find her.
Yeah.
Oh my
And
God.
So was he not able to take out two people at once, or
no,
he already had his kill, so he wasn't worried
it
about
didn't
Bev?
matter. He didn't need to kill Bev.
Yeah.
He's still just scaring all these people. You know what I mean? He doesn't have to.
Okay.
So it's man,
All right.
darkness.
Who else in here was like, I really don't want to be in this room when you get to see Richie go into the clown room?
Clown room didn't mess me up too much. I love if you didn't catch Tim Curry's version of Pennywise on the wall.
Oh yeah.
You get a split second
Yeah.
of it, but it's him in a little picture frame. You know
That's
what I mean?
the only cameo you were going to get.
Yeah,
Jim Curry.
but I thought it was really cool that they did that.
Dude, I didn't even know, but I looked up Tim Curry because I was kind of hoping we might get a look at that, but I mean, he's in a wheelchair and
He's in bad shape.
in real bad shape, and I was like, that's disappointing. That you thought you would get at least a little something. You know what I mean?
And I mean, that's what we got was just unfortunately a little something.
Yeah. I'll tell you that part in the book, and I know we're jumping around, but the clown scene started off so strong, but then when the box was open and you could see his version with the maggots like that, I was kind of disappointed with that. I didn't really care for much.
Well, I think everybody thought it was going to be one thing when he pulled it back.
Yeah.
So he like purposely changed it to something you didn't expect at all.
And it fell flat.
It
Yeah, I think
really did. It really fell flat.
It didn't hit it.
The anticipation of the scene was really good. That's one of them things where you're getting goosebumps. You're like, holy crap, which one is it going to be? And then to talk about a few of the details that I thought were a miss. This is the scene I was giving Cash a hard time about is that, of course, Pennywise comes out and goes after him. And, it's a cool little jump scare like that. And then all of a sudden, they blow through the door to rescue Richie, but if you remember the scene when they break through the door, you see the doorknob and everything blow off the end, and the door is splintered and it's missing its handle now. And then they turn around and he closes the door. And I'm like, okay, hold on, whoa. A second ago, you just showed me the door just splintering and just and the handle blowing off, and then the next part you close the door. And Cash told me that he's like that. Is him playing on your fears in that room.
Yeah, it's
this
not
is
real.
a different room and it's not real.
It's not real.
Okay.
That's the thing. When they go into Nebold house and stuff like that, they're armed like this is what we're going to use to try to kill him and stuff like that. He uses different rooms to try to get you to spend your ammunition and try to separate you from your friends and stuff like that.
Which he does a good job in the movie.
Right.
He really does.
When he gets Eddie. Right?
Right.
So it's like that was the whole thing. Was separating them. You know what I mean? And it happens to Ben in the movie where Ben's like in the hallway and he says he looks and sees his friends. He can still see them, but it's like they're a mile away.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. They're like way out there, even though he knows they're just in a little hallway. He's like, but they seem so far away because he's doing that to you. Okay. So yeah. So when he busts through the door like that, that was just to terrify Richie. Okay. And he gets him out. And the thing is, though, if he would have got a hold of Richie, he probably would have killed Richie right there. But once again, it's Bill is trying to teaching them, don't be afraid of it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not real.
It's just one of those detail things to me is that if you see Bill enter a room to save Richie and the door is getting destroyed, okay, you went from reality into Richie's nightmare. You follow what I'm saying? I don't know. It just, to me, I struggle with it, even though it was fine in the way it came out. It was just one of those minor details. It's just like at the end of the movie when they were cutting each other with the glass. You know, there was no blood on the glass. You know, there was no this. You know, and the only thing that saved it was that Bev, when she put her hand on his face, is like I told Cash, it's like if there ain't blood on his cheek, I'm finna call Bill.
Oh, when they're holding hands, there's blood everywhere.
Right. Well, if you realize they cut one hand, but then when they were cutting hands. The wrong hands were touching each other.
It didn't add up every time.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, the only people who cut opposite hands were Bill and Bev, and so they were the only one touching blood to blood.
Right,
yeah,
and
blood brothers.
So there was like I said, these are minor things. You know what I'm saying? Like when he cut himself, the glass had nothing on it. You know, given they were just doing their squinting and facial expressions, which don't get me wrong, we're good. But there were times that like I thought seeing Pennywise hurt a scene. Example is that when they were at the river and the bullies were beating up on Mike.
When he waves with the
arm.
arm.
Waving with the arm. I was just like, this didn't, like, to me, that hurt that. You know, it didn't.
It was kind of unnecessary, but this was really like, this is not when it happens in the book or like that, but there's a really creepy scene of when they're all playing in the Barrens. The Barrens is a huge thing, the Barrens. Remember they even say, you want to go to the quarry today?
Yeah.
And he goes, we have the Barrens. Now, what they did was they did a really cool reason for why he wants to go to the Barrens all the time, because he thinks Georgie might come out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like how he did he took the, what was it, the mouse tubes or the gerbil trap, or hamster
stuff, yeah.
And he made this for his dad, and his dad was a complete asshole, you know.
Yeah.
But you're struggling with losing your son. But
understand, that's all made up for the movie. That's not in the books. And I thought those were good things.
I thought it was too. It gave you a reason why they kept going to the Barrens, the drain.
Okay.
You know, that was important.
In the book, they go to the Barrens because Henry Bowers doesn't go to the Barrens. Like that's their spot to hide out. Like they play down there because they don't want to. That
makes much better sense.
Yeah. Right, because they don't want to be messed with. Okay. But the problem is they chase Ben to the Barrens, and that's when they find out that a couple of them play down there. So then they know where to find them and stuff like that. Anyway, but there's a really cool scene of it where they're playing down there and just kind of chilling, and they don't realize that over on the other side is two massive eyeballs, think like enormous like Spawn eyes,
right,
staring at them through the high grass. You know what I mean? They don't notice it one bit, but they talk about it in the book. You know, like if they just look to their left or like that, they'd realize
Pennywise
they're being watched by a gigantic monster. Okay, and then there's sometimes too where they're walking down the river and stuff like that, just skipping on rocks and jumping onto the next rock. If they just look to their right, the body of one of the kids that just gone missing just like got flushed out of a pipe and is washing right down beside him.
See, now I want to see this movie again just to see if they are dropping these little tidbits.
They might have been. Yeah. But it's so relentless. Like you don't barely have time to try to look for the nugget.
Exactly. Like, if this was like a Fight Club kind of thing to where like he just keeps popping up before you see him like all throughout the movie. Which I think there is probably a lot of this stuff hidden in the movie.
The movie focused on keeping him in the clown entity. They didn't do the whole manipulation of everything else.
Well, I don't think they wanted to mess with anything that wasn't almost real world-esque.
Basically, if you went to the movie and if they did it what you're talking about, you would need to have read the book to understand based on how much time frame we have in a movie. Not having the book knowledge is why you keep it with the clown as being your focus.
And the clown's what everybody knows.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I'd be happier with that.
So what they changed about Pennywise is big orange balls on his chest that run down his abdomen. Okay? That's the calling card of a Pennywise monster. Okay? Are the big orange balls. All right.
Golly, that would look funny as hell on the new one.
The big bird that attacks Mike, when it sticks its tongue out and opens its mouth to like attack him, it has 3 orange balls running down its tongue. Okay. All the teenage werewolf or whatever like that, I can't remember how he has it on there or whatever like that, but it's on his Letterman jacket, and on the back of it, it's like, the Kill Squad dairy and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Terrible.
Yeah.
So it's like, but that's how you always knew.
Yeah.
If it was Pennywise and the monster and stuff like that, they'd always be able to come back. It's like there was these orange palms on there somewhere on the monster.
Just stick on fire. Yeah.
Who wants to change mics now?
Yeah. So I'm just saying, it would have been such a more expensive movie to try to make it the way they did. I mean, the fact is, we see and hear about a lot more children dying too in the book because they just have that much time.
Right.
There's one kid that dies from the creature from the Black Lagoon. There's one kid, Richie. Richie doesn't go into a clown room. That's not his scare.
No.
Richie gets attacked by that big ass plastic Paul Bunyan statue in the park that they focused on. That's a huge nugget that they threw to you.
Well, see, because that's another cool thing.
Richie denies that he's ever seen Pennywise because he thinks he fell asleep on the bench and that the whole Paul Bunyan thing was a dream. But then he starts to realize, oh no, that was real. Like he's sitting there because he had just got done running from Henry Bowers, and he's like breathing really heavy and stuff like that. And he just noticed that this massive shadow all of a sudden looms over him. And he looks up and it's Paul Bunyan about to drop his axe on him. And it splits the bench in half as he rolls off. And it's just chasing him, just dropping the axe on him and talking to him as he's running.
I love that. Like Richie kind of didn't. And he was just like, is it only virgins I can see? Is that why I can't see this thing?
That's great. They took some things away and added some things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But they gave his comedy like a better feel to it. So
see, Richie has all this comedy in the books and stuff like that. None of it's really sexualized, but all of his comedy is sexualized in the movie. And it's hilarious.
Yeah, I think they went the right route with it. And everything.
So
when they go into the house,
I didn't mind. But yeah, and all his comedy is all voices in the book, but it's
hilarious.
A slave. When he does a black guy, it's like, yes, massa, don't hit me, massa, and stuff like that.
Oh, Lord.
And then he does British. Then he does the Irish cop and stuff like that, and it's like overtly, the drunk Irish cop.
Yeah.
And then he does all kinds of. I mean, they're Mexican, and it's like Pecos. I mean, it's Padre. It's just like it's overtly racist.
That's probably not going to go too well.
So you can't do it. No. But they added all the sexual humor for him this time, and I thought it was great.
All right, well, let's kind of narrow it down towards the end of the movie. All right, so they discover that the house is the well, where the well house is, and they devise the plan to go down in there. This is where Mike encounters the bully, and they almost have is the sheep killing gun in the book?
Well, I mean, like before all that, like kind of we have like they just kind of defeated it, and they think it's that. Eddie's got the broken arm. His mom freaks out. And then like we have a weird 5 minutes where they're not friends.
Well, yeah.
And I guess it's like 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, he learns that he's doing placebos.
Yeah. And that's every hero story.
Yeah.
They separate and then they come back.
And then we get the one phone call. Like who was it that ended up seeing it again? Oh, no, Bev.
Bev's taken away.
Yeah, Bev's taken away. And Bill went to go see her for some reason. But...
yeah, the whole band coming back together was weird and kind of abrupt. You get to see one make a phone call, the other one gets, and then all of a sudden they all show up.
Well, no, Bill was going.
He went to the arcade and got.
Bill was going to meet Bev because she was leaving town the next day.
But
they were meeting up. That's why she had her backpack and stuff. She was going to leave her dad to go to her aunt's house. So they had set up a secret meeting for them to get together and talk before she left town.
So did they point that out in the movie?
At the very end.
It was after
she's like, so I'm leaving tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Like I thought that she was just like, I didn't even know that he knew that.
Right. Yeah. Like the movie doesn't give you a good indication of that.
No, that's why the dad's like, you look all prettied up.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. She's dressed up. She has her backpack.
She wants to go see Bill.
She's going to see Bill. They have planned to meet. When she doesn't show up, that's when he comes to the house and stuff.
Okay. Well,
thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, because it wasn't that clear.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they end up going to the well house, and they end up killing the bully. What was his name again?
Henry Bowers.
Henry Bowers.
They might have killed the bully. This will be a massive change if Henry Bowers is dead.
I mean,
I'm sorry.
That
the
was,
way he went down that well.
I totally agree with you.
That's
I
about a 40-foot drop.
agree with you. This is the biggest change from the book. Henry Bowers is dead, and the fact that Belch and Victor didn't go down there with him, massive change.
Okay.
Belch Huggins and Vic, his two Padres, they get horrifically killed by Frankenstein's monster down in the tunnels.
Wow. I'm gonna be honest.
And Henry lives.
To me, it's like I think they're completely X'd out the bully part of it.
I just don't see how it's even possible that they get rid of Henry Bowers.
I have
I'm gonna be honest
no
with you.
indication that they're going to be able to bring Henry Bowers back.
If he is, he's wheelchair bound and he's eating his food through a straw.
Here's what I think they might do. I think they might turn Henry Bowers into
Someone's
a
fear.
Pennywise disguise. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like Pennywise will turn into an older Henry Bowers or something. Because I mean he's
integral. Huh?
massively integral in the next.
Okay.
I mean, you don't have to turn him into. You just keep him teenaged. I mean, you just rehire the same actor because
Well, my thing is
if we think he's dead and 27 years later we see same thing with Georgie.
they got to bring him back. I'm serious. They need to bring him back alive
Man,
and
I'm
messed
telling
up.
The way he went down that pipe, he's toast.
We didn't
Anyway.
even hear him hit. That thing was so deep.
Yeah. So they get through there, and of course, in classic style, stay together, don't be afraid. And then, of course, was it Stan is the one who gets separated? The painting kid?
Yeah, Stan is the first one that gets separated as they're waiting on Mike.
Right. And he freaks out and...
Completely forgot Stan was in the movie until
Yeah,
this
I mean,
scene.
this is when Stan becomes a relevant character again.
When his face is getting bitten.
Yeah.
Ah, dude.
You guys left me.
I ain't gonna lie. I thought Stan was dead.
Oh, yeah.
And then I was
I
gonna
really
call
expected
BS.
like his face be missing.
I was gonna call super bullshit.
Yeah,
if he
because
was dead.
Stan, it's not necessarily important, but, he's a pretty significant.
Oh, he's
for, like-
hugely significant.
I mean, yes and no.
Dude,
I mean, it's a
I
big
was
deal.
just impressed they decided to keep the holes in his face for
Yes.
the rest of the movie.
But aren't you glad they did?
Yes, because that was realistic.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, that needs to be there.
Well, the one thing about it is these kid actors are just so nonchalant about their gruesome wounds they have. I mean, like you said, Ben has his gut almost tore out. And they're outside chatting about, I can't do this anymore. Da da da.
That H is inches into his stomach. That's not just like
Oh, it was
flesh.
horrific.
Yeah.
But he's more concerned. They're more concerned with that H getting carved in than when he's clawed open.
Yeah. But when you see Stan's face and he's got the entire mackerel teeth line, all the way around,
Yeah.
like a shark has bitten into his face.
Yeah.
I mean, and really cool effect to see the painting character go into the tube and immediately Pennywise come right back out.
Yeah,
I mean,
done well.
it was super well done. But then when they get into the big room, we find Bev, and this is right after Bev has seen the three lights, as you talked about earlier.
Which was so badass when its face opened up.
Yeah.
That was
Dude.
awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that's what, and like you said, that when you see its eyes start to shift and
Yeah.
go wide, and like it's changing its form for whatever reason, I thought that was pretty. All right, the floating children, and the whole room was so cool and well done. And to have it where it all goes to a vapor drain, or what do you want to call it, exhaust drain to look up at. I thought that was freaking cool.
Morlock
The
holes
lighting.
is what they call it in the book. Whatever.
What was it?
The kids call them Morlock holes. Like from Dune type of thing. Or,
Oh, okay.
Or a time machine.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
I thought that was all pretty cool. I loved how everything was stacked on top of the old carriage.
Yeah, it's
all
like
the-
over
all-
the years.
Right.
All the crap.
The
It's
build
kinda
up.
build up.
Like I say, the floating children totally made up for the movie.
Worth it.
I thought it was super cool, but I'm gonna need explanation.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
They all float. That was enough explanation for me.
It wasn't like I thought it was cool that he does this to Bev and she floats up and like she's in static float like that. But again, like when he gets wounded and blood floats up and different like that. I want some explanation for this. I want there to be a payoff to explain.
I don't need
No.
it at all.
And this was going to be the biggest concern going forward was the fact that we see the kids coming down.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, if that's their bodies, then are they not going to take these bodies out of here? Are they not going to tell adults, hey, all your kids, their
We found
bodies,
them.
we found them.
Yeah, that That was a big nugget they left behind at the end of the movie.
Because that doesn't happen in the books, and I think for good reason. You either find your child's mangled body, or they never find it.
Because if you find this, like, that's
now something supernatural is involved.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And, like, how's the parent supposed to react to that?
Yeah. So, I mean, unless they, like, do immediately, like, what they talked about before, which is their memories completely go.
Yeah.
Like, right after it vanishes, they start forgetting.
I think that's what you have to do.
I hope so, because I got news for you. Because I was telling Cash when we got out of the theater, I was like, you just walked out of there and you see all these children everywhere, and you've just discovered what was a big part of all this, but you don't report it to anybody. You don't tell anybody. There's no scene of police coming to the grate or something and discovering this horrific scene or nothing. It's just, hey, let's go over here by the Barrens and do a blood pact, And
yeah, no, it's very problematic because I don't know what they're going to do with that part.
No, I think it's like you said, like they do in the book and the movie and stuff, is like as you move away, you start losing the memory and everything.
But it ain't even moving away.
No.
I mean, they do that blood pact, they still remember. Yeah. They know what they're doing the blood pact for. It's like, if you don't go tell anybody after that, then that means they're keeping it a secret.
Or maybe they tell people and just no one believes them, and it's just like...
Again, it's just that little nugget that it's missing.
I don't think we're going to get...
It closes that movie out better than it did.
And I don't think that we're going to get any explanation. I think.
Well, I hope so. I hope that in the beginning of the next movie, they're like, "No, why are we sure we're going to do this again? Nobody has believed us for 27 years when we've told people we found this." If they have that one line, it could help the credibility.
No, because they're not even going to need that. It's going to start off with kids dying again or something.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about that part. That part's not going to be necessary for what they do. They don't remember it. They don't remember anything. So,
all right. Toughest thing was watching little Georgie take the gun to the forehead.
Toughest thing was Georgie talking to him.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
I just want to go home.
Yeah, dude. I was
like, there's nothing more I want than that, Georgie. To the dome. Just like.
But my thing was, you clearly see those bodies floating up there.
Yeah.
Like, that could be Georgie. As far as
could be hope.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's clearly like a dead thing. His arm's ripped off. He would have bled out. I mean, we're like aware he's like,
he's dead.
Something's wrong. You know what I mean? Which is obviously why he blasts him in the head.
But and did anyone react in the theater when he took the thing to the dome?
Yeah, everybody was like, "Holy
shiite!"
I didn't feel like we had enough people react. Like maybe
I think everybody was just in shock.
Because I mean,
everybody was like, "Don't!"
I was like screaming to the dome, like, "Oh my god, I can't believe they just did this!"
And the thing was, they didn't shy away from it.
No,
he gets popped, and then they slow mo him falling back onto his back
with a hole. Clean in the middle of his forehead.
We just saw a 7-year-old take a shot to the head.
Not even 7.
This kid's 5 at most.
But cool ass scene to see like the arms start popping out and extending.
It was like
so cool.
Like, did it make cartoon noises? Because it did in my head, and like I don't know if they were in my head.
Well,
it was like Go Gadget arms.
The stretching like make this little like elastic popping. So it did make some sound.
Okay.
Now I'm telling you, when the carriage opened up and it showed Pennywise,
him
the original dancer,
Yeah.
and the camera was shifting and not him.
Oh, shaking.
Yeah, it was like holy smacks. But another favorite line. I guess I just can't do this anymore. I've come all this way, this, that, or so on. And then I forget exactly what he said. And he goes, I guess he pulls the bat out and just goes to wailing on him.
Oh yeah, Richie.
Like, I really hate you. I didn't want to be doing any of this.
This is all your fault.
And now I got to kill this fucking clown.
Now I got to beat the fuck out of this clown. Yeah, I loved it. This was like the, Power Rangers coming together moment. You know what I mean?
How dare you use that analogy?
But I just love it, man. And the fact, of course, there's a bat laying there. There's a guitar laying on the ground. You know what I mean? It's like everything's here.
And I mean, this was a pretty good kind of fight scene.
Well, it actually was realistic because you have numbers.
Yeah.
We had numbers, and they get their asses kicked a little bit.
Yes.
A little bit.
I mean, Mike shouldn't be able to get up off the ground.
No.
He got blasted across the room.
Like Mike took like the anime like super punch.
Yeah. Okay. So here's where Ben gets to see the mummy.
Yep.
He gets wrapped up, in the wrappings, and you see its face trying to bite on him and stuff like that.
Yeah, because it was like very briefly done. Like you said, it was just like the wrappings, not necessarily a full-on mummy.
Right.
Well, it was out of nowhere. Again, another nugget to a reader, not to a novice viewer.
That's what I'm saying. they threw in these little nuggets or like that. It's not like a huge scene, but
it didn't hurt me. Like when it happened, I thought it was just a cool way of capturing a kid next to you. I had no knowledge that a mummy was something important when it comes to the book. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this nugget helps somebody who hasn't seen the movie before, but also if you are a book reader, it's
Pays
cool
homage,
as hell.
yeah.
It pays off.
oh yeah. Well, I mean, in the book, he turns into the big eyeball, like I was saying, the werewolf, the mummy. He turns into all this stuff while they're attacking him and fighting with him and stuff like that. So it's like, okay, that makes sense.
And I thought the dialogue was cool that he was explaining that you will be afraid and we're not afraid anymore and all that kind of stuff. And so anyway, they're beating the crap out of him, and then he goes into the tube, whatever this drain is like that, and then he starts to disintegrate a little bit. Was this the cue of we're about to go into hibernation? Or was this cube that he's losing his power or ability? What was the clue here? Because this is where I was kind of like in air.
Well, he's hurt. That's what you're supposed to get away from it. That he's legitimately injured or whatever like that. That's the skin floating off and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He obviously dwells down in that hole. That's where he hibernates at or whatever. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know what they were wanting to tell you. I think they wanted you to feel like, oh, he may be dead. You know what I mean? He looks like he's dying. You know what I mean? He goes down. The kids start floating down. You know what I mean? But then they get outside and they do the blood pact. Like, hey, if this comes back in 27 years, we got to promise we'll come back. You know what I mean? So it's like...
The only thing missing was the old man in the shotgun from Jeepers Creepers. That was the only thing missing.
Oh, yeah, just hiding right there. Yeah.
When he wakes up, I'm ready for it, you know.
But, I mean, the really cool thing they were doing or whatever like that was, he thrusts his fist against the post and still insists he sees the ghost or whatever like that. Maybe he says that right before he drops down. That's Bill's, power, okay? Like, all of them have something. They didn't do it in the movie, but Stan is a bird watcher in the book, okay? And he carries around this little book of all his birds and stuff like that to be able to identify what birds they are. So when his fear starts coming at him, which is 2 drowned children inside of a water pipe, or whatever like that, he starts reading from the book, and the kids back off, and the door that's been locked behind them all of a sudden opens. Okay?
So it's kind of like Inception, to where you have an anchor.
You have something that
To ground you.
Well, it tells you it's something you don't seem afraid if you're able to do this thing.
Well, it's almost like you're in reality if you go back to what you know and love.
Richie does his voices. That's what keeps him. Okay? Eddie, or whatever like that, he'll spray his inhaler at you, or whatever, okay? Things like this.
I've got to listen to this book. I mean, there's just
there's
mounds
all
and mounds
kinds of stuff.
information.
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff that you just can't put in there, though. But he thrusts his fist against the post, or whatever. That is a statement that Bill is trying so hard to say without stuttering. That's his speech therapist. If you can.
Speaking of his stuttering, did y'all think the actor did a good job on the stuttering?
I thought it was pretty good. He stutters way worse in the book. I mean, way worse.
Part of it bothered me a little bit. It was an acquired taste. Let's put it that way.
But that thing he's trying to say it around his parents. He wants to say it to his mom.
Yeah.
So bad because they have forgotten him. They're so devastated. The marriage is falling apart and stuff like that because Georgie's gone. That you see him he's eating dinner by himself and stuff like that. His dad's super rude to him. You don't even see the mom anymore or like that. But he just knows that if he can go in the house and say it to her, that she'll be so proud of him that they'll remember him.
What's the line?
He thrusts his fist against the post and still insists he sees the ghost. Okay, it's hard to say. Just if you don't have a speech
I don't know
impediment.
if I can repeat that after you just told me.
Right. But when he's walking down the street and he's trying to say it and stuff like that, it is so sad in the book that that's all he wants to do. When he has the big speech where he's like, it's easier for me to go in this house than it is to walk into my own. That's what he's talking about. He's like, his house is a ghost house now. You know? Mm-hmm. But that phrase he's trying to say and what he's talking about with his mom and stuff, I mean, it's heartbreaking in the book. And then,
that's a nugget I wish they had in the movie.
Yeah. But that should come up in the adult version, not the kid version.
Okay. That's cool.
All right. And I think that's pretty much the movie.
Yeah, I don't want to talk too much more about it because, like I said, I don't want to get so much into something that we need to be talking about the adult side. I don't want to.
Do we have any like pocket picks that we think could play the adults in the movies in the sequel?
Okay, here's the thing: they took a boatload of no-name people,
Yeah.
to fill up these roles, except for like 2.
And it's easy to do it as kids because like
kid actors.
Yeah.
But the movie was so successful that you got to realize that the producers and the director and stuff are like, hey man, we got some money to throw around now. So
I think they spent like $36 million on this movie, and it's already made like what, 117?
Yeah, I think it was like 51 on the first day, wasn't it? It was unbelievable money.
They made like 118 million on opening weekend.
Yeah,
so it was like, I think it was 51.7 million on day one. That's incredible.
Yeah,
numbers.
Especially for a horror, like a quote unquote horror movie. Like they don't make money like that. Like,
yeah, I mean, actors wise.
Like, a lot of people, like the kid who plays Ben, and a lot of people are like rallying behind it. They want Chris Pratt to play Ben.
Chris Pratt would be a good character because Ben loses all his weight when he becomes an older man. Like becomes a devilishly like super handsome, rugged man.
And I mean that was like Chris Pratt.
Yeah,
like,
kind of what happens to Chris Pratt. He was a chubby little punk. That was funny.
Well, I could compare this to the kid actors you get. You know what I mean? I don't know how they develop. You have to be a book reader.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
and then I mean, you could easily
the rest of them just grow up like you'd think they would.
Yeah.
I mean, Bill starts balding. He's like a bald man. You know, he has the classic like little slightly comb over. You know what I mean? Stan just like a inherently Jewish man. You know, with curly hair, stuff like that. I mean, nothing. You don't have to like pick out somebody's fan.
Well, of all the kids, he seemed like he was he was a taller kid than most.
He is taller. Yeah. Eddie's, like I said, still a short man, or like that.
I think Richie would be the hardest person to.
Well, does Richie still have glasses when he gets older?
Once again, it's like, do I want to talk about this stuff too much? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean that's not a dead giveaway.
And plus, the thing is, I don't know what they're going to change.
Yeah,
because Richie had Coke bottle glasses this time, and
because Mike is the one that stays in town or whatever like that for the
Mike never leaves
for the new movie or for the second half of the adult version. He becomes the town librarian. But like I said, he's the history keeper.
Mm-hmm.
But if they give that to Ben,
so are you saying that everybody leaves and then they come back? Is that kind of how it kind of played out?
It's like, hey, if nobody wants to be spoiled on anything from the possibly the second half,
I'll just
shut it off. But I'm just saying, like, everybody leaves but Mike.
Okay, that's all I wanted. I was just curious. That doesn't matter if they shake it up too much. You know what I mean? Now, I'd be pissed if one of the people doesn't come back because they say he died in a car accident in '87 or something like that.
Well, it's not like that, but it's just they could change what these people become, their professions and things like that, because they were going to update it. It's going to be 2000 and what?
Do you see Mike needing to be the librarian, considering that we've already got 2/3 of what I would consider the history you need to hear?
No, it doesn't have to. No, just has to be somebody in Derry that says, "Hey, it's happening again."
Right. But I mean, Mike makes the easiest case because his family's already got
owns a farm and stuff like that.
Right.
So it'd be easy to just be like, "Hey, Mike stayed in town."
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
But I mean, I think if we go Chris Pratt, then I think like it's easy to just kind of go like Jessica Chastain, reunite the Jurassic Park. Or no, it was Dallas Howard.
Bryce Dallas
Howard. Go with someone like her. For Beth.
I'll be straight with that. I'm a fan of hers. I mean, it's got to be a redheaded chick.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think we might get one bigger name person, but not a megastar. I think they kind of keep the same formula. It worked the first one.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know what? I hope they just get a bunch of character actors. You know what I mean?
I want people that I recognize, but not like one has,
I mean, I personally
power
don't
over the rest of them.
Yeah, I don't want Eddie to be Tom Cruise when he comes back. You know what I mean? I don't want anything like that.
Right.
No, and I mean, I don't think we will. But I mean,
you also have to imagine all these characters. What age group are we talking? All these characters are we 10 to 12 years old? Is that what I'm guessing here?
Yeah, right now. Yeah, they're all like 40s when they come back.
Okay, so if that's the case, late 30s, early 40s, then they're 12. Basically.
Yeah.
That's about what they
12,
are.
13 at the best. So You got to think about when you think of actors who are 40 years old or close to it. You know,
that's Chris Pratt.
Ton of them.
Yeah, I mean that's most of your.
But you don't have to do.
No, I mean you don't have to, and I personally don't want Chris Pratt. Like, but
I don't see Chris Pratt in this. I'm sorry.
But the thing is, there's a lot of guys that are like, that you're not even thinking about that are excellent character actors. You know what I mean? That could show up. There's some guys that we like from other shows, like Walton Goggins. I don't see him in any of this stuff, you know what I mean? Because he's so strange looking with his big teeth and
so strange.
But I'm just saying, like, he's not a big A-list actor. But when you see him and stuff, you're like,
I'm watching that
he's
movie.
Going to crush it.
Yeah.
Whatever role he's playing.
Right.
But there's several guys like that.
We could get another Skarsgård thrown into this movie.
Oh my
by
God,
then.
it's possible.
Well, think about it. I don't think any of those characters can be so over charismatic like he is.
Yeah.
I think everybody's got to be subtly who they are, and they work great as a dynamic together, not as one character steals the show.
Yeah. I mean, Danny McBride coming back as Richie, I'd be all right with that. You know what I mean? Like something like that.
I'm okay with anything that's Danny McBride. So,
man,
hey, he would
That
do
would
all
be
the
terrible.
voices, no problem.
Yeah. But yeah, there's, I don't know. I couldn't even speculate. I mean, I couldn't even.
no.
And you know what? And like I said, I'm hoping I'm not going to get these like news articles that come out like so-and-so signed. It's like, wow. Now it means they saved no money for the other 6 people. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like,
Exactly. No doubt.
Hopefully that's not the case, but
No. Well, guys, what did y'all think? Did y'all think it was epic as we did? Did y'all think it was? I mean, IMDb only has it at like an 8.1 or 8.2.
I think I saw 8.2.
I mean, I think part of that problem is just because it's labeled as a scary horror movie, and in a way, it was nothing near that.
But that was never. It was never a jump scare book.
No,
like it wasn't supposed to be that. It's supposed to be.
Well,
but I mean, that's what people thought it was going to be.
Nightmarish.
Showing in.
If you think about how they did the previews for this movie, that's what it was designed to scare the Jesus out of you. That was the goal of the movie.
And like the way everyone talks about it, it's like, oh, it's so scary, like once you see it, you understand. And so like a lot of people went in with the wrong mindset.
And this is one time where the previews did this movie hellified justice.
Oh yeah,
when it came to what the finished product was.
Excellent marketing, excellent
stuff. Mm-hmm. I mean, even the scene we didn't even talk about it after. Was it Eddie who saw the leper, and then you see Pennywise with the reverse pyramid of balloons.
And was there a reason for that, or
no? It was just a fucking cool ass visual. Yeah. And then to turn around and hear pop, 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 and then all the balloons are just kind of just popped in midair, and then he's gone. I mean, it's cool as hell. But what did y'all think of the movie? I mean, did y'all agree, disagree? Do you feel like it was a miss? Do you feel like Jake, who says it could have gone for 27 more hours and still been quality entertainment? Or do you feel like you like the new direction? Man, we'd love to hear from you guys. We're going to post this, and if you hear something or you think something about it, don't hesitate to hit us up, because we're definitely going to be covering the next one when it comes out, hopefully sooner than later. And we look forward to it. You can always hit us on Twitter. We're on Facebook. It's BleedTV Podcast. And, of course, BleedTV Podcast at gmail.com. If you want to send us an email, we get those all the time. But I think we kind of covered everything tonight. Again, I thought the movie was badass. My favorite movie of the year. And I hope they were able to relive it even better for the next one.
And hopefully it doesn't take 27 years.
Exactly. But other than that, guys, this is BleedTV. I'm Zach.
I'm Jake.
And I'm Cash.
We'll see y'all next time.